Good morning, and welcome to First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati. My name is Reverend Connie Simon, and I am delighted to be with you. Located on the ancestral lands of the Adena, Hopewell, Miami, and Shawnee people, this urban community welcomes all with love, supports learning and spiritual growth, serves our wider community, and works for justice, equity, and inclusion. At the end of the service, there will be announcements of upcoming events. If you'd like to learn more about these events, our community, or any of our programmings, please contact us at member-care@firstuu.com. We begin our worship by lighting our chalice, the chosen symbol of our faith, with these words by Lisa Doge. For the new year, just days old and beginning today, always beginning, we light our chalice, symbol of faith, perseverance, and hope, in astonished thanksgiving and irrepressible praise. For beginnings that emerge out of endings, appear amidst continuity, become visible in hindsight, we light our chalice, symbol of faith, perseverance, and hope, in astonished thanksgiving and irrepressible praise. For all the times and all the ways we have begun anew together, we light our chalice, symbol of faith, perseverance, and hope, in astonished thanksgiving and irrepressible praise. Please join now in singing our vision song. The words appear on the screen.
There are a few things that I know for certain. Among them are that love is an action, pineapple belongs on pizza, and ritual is an important part of the human experience. You understand that ritual, it helps us mark the passage of time. Think about what you do on Memorial Day and Labor Day and how those events mark the beginning and the end of summer. Ritual also help us mark important milestones in our lives. Baby showers and funerals and graduations. But ritual also tells us who our people are, to whom we belong. Every Sunday, when our children light their chalice in their classrooms, we say we are the church of the open mind and the loving heart and the helping hands. This is a ritual where they understand that they belong to us. Today's story is about ritual, particularly New Year's Eve rituals, and how those are different depending on who you are and where you are.
Celebrations Happy New Year by Clara Coleman.
It's almost midnight, and my family is having a party. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year! We celebrate New Year's Eve on December 31st. There are other New Year celebrations too. Anna's family celebrates Chinese New Year. It's also called the Spring Festival, and it lasts 15 days. Friends and family celebrate together. There is even a dragon dance parade. In Thailand, Chris and his family celebrate Songkran. The streets turn into a big water party every April. Diwali is the celebration of a new year in India. It's also called the Festival of Lights. Hannah's family decorates with bright patterns and lots of candles. They hope this will bring them good luck. The Jewish New Year is called Rosh Hashanah. A ram's horn, called a shofar, is blown at the beginning and end. David and his family gather for meals and prayer. It's a very important holiday. There are New Year's celebrations around the world. How does your family celebrate? My family celebrates the New Year every December 31st, and we do it by eating root beer floats. When and how does your family celebrate the New Year?
Voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing. That hymn from our hymnal is very short, very sweet, very small, hidden in the back of the book, but one of incredible power and presence. As we begin this new year, there's so much happening around us. The world is spinning quickly. Viruses are still raging. Division is still happening. Conflict is still present. But perhaps that voice, still and small, deep inside all, can call to us and remind us of the love that connects us all. One of the ways that we call to mind that love is by sharing the joys and the sorrows that have been part of our lives since last we were together. We do that by dropping a stone in water. The stones represent those things that we're carrying in our hearts, whether they are happy or sad or somewhere in between. The water represents the healing power of love. I made a commitment almost 2 years ago that I wasn't going to empty the water until we could all be back together again. That we would keep piling the stones in here until you could drop them in here yourselves. I don't know if it's time for that yet. It's not this week, but hopefully it will be soon. So today, I will continue to drop the stones for you. First, a stone for our world, where violence and hatred unfortunately still have a foothold on us. There was a shooting about 2 miles from where I lived before I came here that just really blew me away. For the people in that quiet, calm neighborhood, I recognize and lift up their sorrows and seek healing and peace and some semblance of joy for those affected. For the folks who live in my former home state of Colorado, devastated by fire, a prayer. Closer to our home here, for those in Avondale and all over Cincinnati who are suffering from homelessness, unemployment, financial woes, facing discrimination or oppression or loneliness, we drop a stone. Within these walls, for Walt and Elaine Varland and things that are happening in their family right now, we drop a stone and let them know that we are with them, that we love them. And I have in my hand one big stone that I'm holding on to drop in last. I want it to feel the warmth of my body. I want this stone to represent all of us, this community here at First Church. Like everyone else, we've been through a lot. We've had personal illnesses and losses and tragedies. We've dealt with conflict. And we have experienced joy. We've had good things happen to us in the last year. So for all of those things, and putting them together in this one big giant stone. And I'm going to drop it so that it splashes. I'm going to step back first. For those we have named, for those whose names we do not know, and for those whose names are carefully guarded in our hearts, we ask that the healing power of love will soothe all sorrows and amplify all joys. And I share with you a prayer for the new year. This is adapted from portions of a prayer that was recited in a Methodist church. Spirit of light, Spirit of love, Mother Earth, and Spirit of humanity. At the start of each day, help us to recognize you above all else. Enlighten the eyes of our heart that we might see the goodness in this world and in each other, and that we might notice the power of love and its working in and through our various lives. We ask for the wisdom to make the best choices. We ask that we be filled with the desire to seek peace, love, and justice more than anything else in this world. Spirits, humanity, God of many names, whatever you consider the divine, we ask that you breathe in us, through us, again and again, fresh and new each day, each moment, and fill us with peace and grant us grace as we travel this journey. In the name of all that is holy, I invite you now to join me in a moment of silent meditation, reflection, and prayer as we look at these beautiful flowers given by Mary Mark in celebration of the new year. Each month, we designate our Sunday plate collections to benefit a special cause or local social justice organization. This month, our beneficiary is the new Center for Social Justice, a Black-led initiative housed at the Urban League here in Avondale. The center was launched in summer 2020 in direct response to police violence that included the tragic killings of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. Police brutality and the resulting race-based trauma has a profound effect on the psychological and physical well-being of Black and brown individuals, families, and communities. The center works to prevent police violence in our region before it occurs again by partnering with communities and police departments to accelerate reforms in local jurisdictions. At our service next week, Executive Director Raquel Howard-Smith will share what it looks like to move from protest to policy and her perspective on how we must center the voices and solutions developed by communities directly impacted by systemic injustice. In addition to police reform, the Center for Social Justice works on addressing voter suppression and emerging social justice issues. If you would like to support the work of the Center for Social Justice, you may do so by giving to First Church's special plate collection. You can text the word GIVE to 513-717-7373. If you have access to our Breeze member system, you can click Give Now. You can also donate on our website at firstuu.com. And you can write a check payable to First Unitarian Church with Center for Social Justice or Urban League in the memo line and mail it to 536 Linton Street, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45219. If this is your first time visiting us, Please let the virtual plate pass you by. Your presence is your gift to us. Our offering will now be gratefully received. My New Year's sermon 2 years ago was hindsight is always 20/20. I challenged us to all be clear on who we are, what we stand for, and what we hope to become. None of us could possibly have known that day the trials and challenges that were coming our way. That was January 5th, 2020. 2020 was a year. Politically, socially, and economically. There were memes everywhere about 2020 being the worst year ever. We couldn't wait to get out of 2020. I shared with you a piece by Kate Lohr that asked us to reflect upon the state of our lives. What lessons have we learned in the past year, and which new ones now call us forward? To whom do we still owe an apology or expression of thanks? And with whom must we draw fresh boundaries? I asked you that day early in 2020 how you could realign yourselves with love and come up with a word that would be your mantra for the coming year. Did you do it? Did you have a year? Did you have a word for the year? Mine was resolve. And even though I had that word, 2020 and 2021 didn't turn out exactly the way we had hoped they would. Right after Christmas last year, I bought New Year's cards that said, 2021, what could possibly go wrong? And then it did. Thousands of people died as COVID raged in the first week of the new year. The nonsense in Washington continued as baseless charges of election fraud devolved into violence on the steps and in the very halls of the Capitol building. This past summer, I was laughing with a friend about how we couldn't wait for 2020 to end. We thought that was hilarious. And my friend said, yeah, it was like 2021 told 2020, here, hold my drink. I didn't send my cards. And still, we made it through 2021. We lost loved ones, and we lost friends. We dealt with health issues and life challenges. It was a full year. Now, many of you may know that I am a note taker. I learn and remember things by writing and doodling. And I live in these little notebooks. I even decorate them. This one is 2 months worth. And there are tabs for meetings and tabs for things I've done, and lots of to-do lists and colors and things that I've been tracking, and it has notes and joys and sorrows and frustrations and plans and goals. It has coffee stains and now dog paw prints and scribbles. It's lived in. This is my reminder that I lived 2021. I was here. I was present. Here's a new book. I buy these in bulk, Still in the package. Nice and clean, not decorated. The pages are still crisp and clean, and it smells good. It represents the promise and the hope of 2022, of experiences yet to come, of feelings not yet felt, of things that I can't even imagine yet. How will I fill these pages? What will I put in there? 3 years ago, in 2019, in January, I stood up here with Gabe, one of our youth. He wanted to do a joint call to worship. And one of the questions that he asked was, what shall we do with this great gift of time this year? 3 years later, I'm thinking back on that. What shall we do with this great gift of clean pages and a new year? We could make resolutions. Resolutions started in ancient Babylon, so here's your trivia for the day. It was a way for farmers to request favor from the gods. They thought that if they promised to be good, the gods would give them a full crop, that the harvest would be bountiful. The ancient Romans did the same thing, not necessarily for crops, but for the year in general, with Janus, the two-faced god, one face looking forward into the new year, the other looking back. We know that in many religious traditions, there is a prayer for the new year, a pledge of faithfulness in exchange for the favor of the divine. But for the most part, resolutions have just become more secular these days. I'm going to lose 20 pounds this year. I'm going to go to the gym every day. I'm going to give up smoking, soda, candy, fill in the blank, whatever it is. We make these promises on January 1, and we might even write them in a book and create a cute little page to track them. But by February 1st, they're gone. Most of our resolutions aren't kept. So what shall we do with this great gift of time this year? Maybe making resolutions isn't exactly the way to go. If we can't keep those promises, we shouldn't make them. It's like covenant. Instead, what if we considered in this new year that we have all been given a great gift, which is the opportunity to make change in our world. We have been given the great gift of opportunity to make change in our world and in our community. Now, here at First Church, we're going to be doing a lot of things this year. We will be looking at ourselves and how we are, doing the follow-up work to our year of discovery. We talked about how we wanted to be together. We talked about the things that we need to improve on. From a technical operations standpoint, we talked about things that we want to do in tech, and a lot of that has been done, but there's still more to do. We have some financial systems work to do. We're looking at ways that we can be more creative and innovative in worship. The social justice team is looking at how it can be even more connected here in Avondale. We're trying to figure out how we can build on the success of You the Vote and work more on voter suppression issues and voter engagement issues here in our community. We're looking at covenant up close, because that seemed to be the one area where we needed the most attention. We have a covenant task force that has been doing some research and will be asking questions of all of you in weeks to come. There's a lot that we can do together. We have wonderful opportunity. Back in October, I told you about this little book, The Post-Quarantine Church by Tom S. Rayner. He's a congregational consultant. This book was recommended to me as a tool to help congregations like ours emerge from the COVID pandemic. One of the things that's written in here is he says, when COVID ends in 2021, yeah, okay. That didn't quite happen, but still, there are 6 things that he covers in here, challenges that churches will face. 1, how to gather differently and better. We're learning that. There are very few of you present in the sanctuary this morning, and a great many more watching online. I got an email from someone who has not been connected with this congregation, but said, hey, you're on YouTube and I like you. I don't live there, but can I watch? Can I be part of your community? So we're finding new ways to gather differently and better. Challenge number 2, he says, is seize your opportunity to reach the digital world. We've been a little slow in that regard, but we're working on it. Our social media presence is wrapping up. We now put notices of services on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and there is a team working on our website. Challenge number 3, reconnect with the community near your church. We are in Avondale. Are we of Avondale? Are our doors really open? Or do we just unlock the door on Linton Road and say, well, they'll come? Is that the same as being inviting? I'm not sure. That's a challenge for us this year. Another challenge he cites is that after COVID, congregations will need to take prayer to a new and powerful level. I view this as taking spiritual development to a new and powerful level. We have work to do as individuals and as a congregation. Spiritual learning does not just mean attending and coming to coffee hour, or maybe attending one of Meredith's TAD talks. All of those things are important, but what goes with that is soaking in what you've heard, taking it to heart, taking it to mind, allowing it to work in and through you. Challenge number 5, rethinking your facilities for emerging opportunities. What are we doing with this beautiful big building? Are we inviting people in? Or are we keeping it safe and protecting it for our own use? Is that what it's really here for? I don't know. And challenge number 6 is making lasting changes that will make a difference. In the post-quarantine church, change is inevitable. Even if we hadn't had COVID, change was coming. Change is here. Change is the only thing in our lives that's constant. And as much as I may want things to stay the way they have been always, they can't. Because I'm not the same person. I don't have the same skin cells. I don't have the same blood cells. I'm not the same. You're not the same. The earth is not the same. The leaves on the trees are not the same. There is change. Our challenge is to see it, adapt it, and use it for the betterment of society. So here's another thing that I did this past year. I attended a Mid-America region workshop entitled The Future Change Framework, Strategic Direction for a Post-Pandemic World. It's a very long title. And it featured Ian Burbidge, who's the Associate Director of the RSA Lab and developer of the Future Change Framework. This particular workshop was developed for congregational leaders to, quote, explore the challenges and opportunities presented to us as we move into a post-pandemic world. Again, this was in April of 2020, and yeah, we're not quite yet post-pandemic. But at the same time, remember in April 2020, we were getting vaccinated, and we were hopeful of a return to something close to normal in the summer. So here's an adapted presentation of the framework that's a little more colorful, and I hope a little easier to read than the original. There are 4 quadrants. There are temporary measures to end, obsolete activities to let go, and innovative measures to amplify, and then paused activities to restart. So the idea here is that you look at, on the left side, it's during the crisis. And then as you move through the crisis, what do you keep doing or what do you stop doing? Right? Okay, so let's talk about these in a little more detail. The things that we want to end are things that we've done to respond to immediate demands, but were specific to the crisis at hand. We want to end these temporary measures. Now, crisis in this context really means the pandemic. But I think we can all agree that there are other things that we might want to consider in this category. Things that are going on in our political world, in our community. What things have we done in reaction, as immediate reactions to crises? What temporary measures do we want to end here? Now, what can you think of for First Church? There's one that comes to my mind right away. RSVPs for service. Opening the door and allowing some people in. Closing the doors was a temporary measure that we did to respond to the immediate demands of the crisis. And then we kind of moved toward RSVPs. We don't have to do that anymore. Then there are these things that you can let go of. We've been able to stop doing things that were already or now unfit for their purpose. These are things that we can let go of. Like printing our really long newsletter for everybody. If we really believe in our sixth principle, and we are really good stewards of the earth, we don't need to print a ream of paper for every newsletter. We can print them only for the people who need them printed. So I think that's a thing we can let go of. Our really long orders of service, they were getting pretty full there for a while. We can let go of that. There are things that we want to amplify, innovative measures. These are new things that we tried, and they showed some signs of promise for the future. Like live streaming services, Zoom meetings. You know, there are some members of this congregation who drive a very long way to get here. If they don't have to drive 35 minutes here and 35 minutes home for a 60-minute meeting, doesn't that sound like a good idea? That's an innovative measure that we want to amplify. And then there are things we want to restart. These are things that we had to stop during the crisis, but that need to be picked up in some form. We want to restart these paused activities. Potlucks, having some kind of order of service, worship associates, the VIP lounge for the kids. Kids! These are things that we want to restart. So Carrie and I have been looking at operations and project lists, and we're working with the board, and we're all looking at not just whether we're doing things right, but whether we're doing the right things. And we're hoping that you will participate in these conversations as well. We're going to talk about this book, the workshop, and all the things that we think of as to how these questions relate to First Church. What do we need to end, to amplify, to let go of, or to restart? And we'll be looking at them through the lens of covenant. How do we develop and embody our joint commitment to the future of this community, its health and well-being? How do we covenant among and between ourselves to do the work that is needed to sustain this congregation? The first of these conversations will happen after service on January 16th. You'll hear more about the covenant team and the work that is being done there and the work that the board is doing. There will be 2 additional sessions on Zoom during the week for those who are not able to attend on Sunday. Look for those dates and times in the newsletter and in the announcements next Sunday. We're not the only congregation that's doing this work and thinking about these questions. It's happening everywhere. Rayner wrote his book for a reason, and RSA created this framework for a reason. Many churches, most churches of all denominations, have been struggling with declining attendance, aging membership, and decreased giving. It's not new. It's a trend that's been happening for years. Congregations have had to face the fact that they can't keep doing the same things they were always doing and get the same result. And then adding COVID on top only exacerbated the problem in many spaces. We weren't exempt from some of these struggles here at First Church. We've had to give up some things, change some things, and do some new things. And I want to celebrate all the teams and members and folks here for their creativity and imagination in finding ways for us to stay connected. But I want to return to this point I made a moment ago. We have the opportunity to make real change. And this is indeed congregational work. Work for you, work for me, work for the board, work for the staff, work for all of us to do together through discussion, through prioritization and planning. But even before we get there, there's work for each of us to do as individuals. And it's in this way that I think that framework might be helpful. Dave? So I looked at these questions again, and I'm going to give you a moment of silence to think about this futures framework from a personal perspective. You know, there's a song, "Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me." This work begins with each of us. So I encourage you to think about these questions. Is there something I stopped doing last year, just because of COVID, before the conflict, whatever you want to fill in the blank there? Is there something that I stopped doing that I should have stopped doing a long time ago? Well, if so, let it go. Don't bring it back. Let it go. Is there something I started doing just because of COVID that I can now stop? I started skipping church altogether because I couldn't come in person. I don't know, you fill in the blanks. Whatever that was, stop it. Just stop it. Is there something that I stopped doing that I can start again? I stopped participating in my small group because I don't like Zoom. Well, you could start that again, so do it. And is there a new thing that I started doing just because of COVID or because of whatever that I really like and I want to continue? Well, do more of it. Maybe you didn't like coming to small groups before, but now that it's on Zoom, you love it. Do more of it. I want to ask each of you to think in 30 seconds of silence. Do it more at home later. What do you personally need to end, to let go of, to amplify, or restart in your own life? What will help you be a better person? What will help you be a more fully engaged and connected member of this community? Think about that for a few seconds. I encourage you to continue thinking about this over the next couple of weeks from a personal standpoint and as you think it relates to First Church, and to participate in the conversations that will be happening later this month. And I'm going to leave you with a prayer by Erica Hewitt. This is the season of endings and beginnings, where the small signs of dawn pierce through the night and something new is born. But first comes the waiting. First come the lessons of endings and beginnings. The presence of life, the sheltering spirit of love, grieves with those sweeping up the debris of loss, waits with those who restlessly reach out for change, grants us courage in the night to guard each other's dreams for this holy, wondrous universe. Grant us, O universe unfolding in mystery, a sense of your timing. May we loosen our grip on that which doesn't serve us, leaving behind that which we have outworn and outgrown. Teach us the lessons of beginnings. Remind us that such waitings and endings may be a starting place, a planting of seeds which bring to birth what is ready to be born, something right and just and different, a new song, a deeper relationship, a fuller love in the fullness of time. Stockwell suggests to us that in this new year, let us be amazed. Let us search for new life and hope in our midst. Let us nurture creativity in every form. Let us be reminded that new insights of the universe are always being made. In this new year, let us be amazed. And now we'll extinguish our chalice by reciting together the words that appear on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go in peace, my friends. And I think we've answered the question. Happy New Year? Yes. Happy New Year. There are many announcements for this week. First of all, it's the first Sunday. So there's the first Sunday coffee hour with the Board of Trustees. This is an opportunity for all members of the congregation to ask questions of the board. If there's something you want to know, ask away. This meeting will start immediately after the service on Zoom. Next week, as I mentioned, our guest will be Raquel Howard-Smith, the Executive Director of the Center for Social Justice, the Urban League of Greater Southwest Ohio. She will be on stage doing an interview type format discussion with our own Lisa Davis Roberts about the challenges that are facing our Avondale community.